What's up? Well, as I told my guys on Saturday, that I was proud of the effort in those 3 games in a row. I think that's speaks a lot about your team with travel and all the things we went through and all the different preps. And the atmosphere in Breslin, I definitely think, helped us win that game. And that reminded me of some old-time things we've done, so it was electric in there. So our team was pretty good. Our fans were very good. Saturday, we completely took the day off. But yesterday was back to work again for the Phil Knight Invitational, which is really an incredible thing. It'll be our 4th game against BCS schools and 4th completely different prep. This team shot 46 threes in the last game they played, which is almost a half a season's worth for some teams. They are dangerous. They are big. I wouldn't say as strong as maybe Gonzaga or Villanova, but they are very, very long. I mean, it's 6'11", 6'10", 6'10". The Miller kid is everybody's 2 or 30 pick in the draft. Long, athletic, can shoot threes. Some people compare him to a Kevin Durant. So it is a talented team. Miller's averaging a double-double with 18 and 10. The Sears kid that they got in from Ohio U has been playing very well, but the Quinterly kid who transferred 2 years ago, I think it was from Villanova, had been hurt, and he might be the consummate point guard. They also have 2 other freshmen in Griffin and Bradley that are very, very good shooters. So they shoot a lot of threes. They're long and athletic. They play very good defensively. Nate's worked our camp for 10 years, so he knows a lot about our program, and I followed his. So I think it'll be, as I said, the 4th different prep. When you see a Gonzaga, then you see a Kentucky, and then you see a Villanova. This team is different than all those teams by a long shot, and yet it will give us another good indication on where we are, what we need to get better at. So I'm looking forward to it. As I watched some games yesterday, you just realize there's a lot of good teams, maybe not a lot of elite teams, but a lot of very good teams. And when you're Baylor or you're UCLA and you go into a tournament and all of a sudden one of them's leaving there with 2 straight losses, that's the way this tournament will be for us. I mean, I watched UConn last night and Oregon both. They played all 3 games were one after another. UConn, then Kentucky, Gonzaga, then Oregon. And Oregon's the biggest team I've seen. And UConn is a team we played last year and we know a little bit about, but they've improved greatly. So either way, win or lose the first one, we're going to have our hands full with the second one. And then you could have your hands full with another Villanova, or it could be a Carolina. So the tournament is second to none with the teams that are in it. Questions?
Tom, you've talked about this team being good at following scouting reports, and with this situation being sort of NCAA tournament-ish, it's a new thing for them to experience. Are you curious to see how they handle that back-to-back-to-back prep sort of deal, and just how this team operates in that type of environment?
I really am. And I do got to give my staff a lot of credit. When you have this many different preps at this completely different, completely different, it takes a lot of work. And and they've got to get it down to where we can present it without having guys' heads spinning because there's so many different things. So I guess besides our fans, I think my staff has done an incredible job through this tough stretch we have. And I am anxious to see how we respond to not only the first game, which we have a little bit of prep time, although, now we're going to have time change. Now we play at 10:30 at night, our time. There's going to be some more incredible things. So those of you that are going out there, I hope you get some rest, because it'll be some late night games, and how fast do you adjust to the time. And it's going to be an interesting, we leave on Tuesday, and we'll play 4 games in 8 days, and those 4 games will all be interesting because of the situation that we'll be in. So yeah, it's going to take a lot from my staff and a lot from my players, and yet what an exciting time for us, because we put ourselves in a position where, we feel we can play with a lot of people, but yet understand we have warts, we have things that we haven't done as well, and depth is still a factor. Jaden, thank God, I didn't even know when I addressed you guys that it was his foot again, but it wasn't anything. X-rays and everything are 100% good, but he has tweaked it. How much he'll be able to play. Yesterday he was walking around, did not practice. Probably won't practice today. Whether he'll play in the first game, second game, I don't know, but we do need him with his athletic ability to guard these 3-point shooters that we're going to face, because it's going to be a slew of them in that first game.
I'm just wondering, what has allowed this team to be so solid defensively, it seems like, right from the start of this season? Is that just having veterans, or what are the dynamics that have allowed them to do that?
Well, I think Joey's improved his defense, and having Malik on the perimeter, he's able to guard some guys. AJ, we know, is a very good on-ball defender, and the same with Tyson. And then you add a Jaden Akins in there, who I think could be a great defender. Marty has improved enormously on stepping up on ball screens and doing those things. We still got a couple guys we got to get better defensively if we're going to, especially if Jaden doesn't play in this game. Pierre's got to take a big step. In fact, a monstrous step. Now, he did in the second half. But to guard the people he's going to have to guard, that's going to be a big key. But I think the team's been better defensively because we got back to our roots a little bit early in the summer and said, hey, we've got to do this with our special teams. We got to get better with our defense. We got to get better with our rebounding. I wouldn't call us a great rebounding team yet, and that'll be challenged this week. I mean, they lead the nation in rebounding. I think they're first or second in the nation. They're averaging 20 offensive rebounds a game, which is a sick number. And who did they play? Well, it wasn't like they played some teams that have been, Jacksonville, South Alabama, they're not BCS games, but they're good teams. So how good those teams are, because you don't know who transferred, who didn't, all those things, I don't know. But this is as good a rebounding team as we've faced in a long time. And so defending and rebounding, back to our staples, are going to be the staples of the night.
Tom, I think you just answered this with that answer, but you always talk about not just winning games, winning the weekend or winning the event. And would you spend any time at all introducing UConn and Oregon, or does that just come after Thursday? And if you do get Villanova again, could that actually help because you've already done that prep?
Well, it could help because we've done the prep. I don't know if it'll help because I think they're really good and gave us some problems, although we had that big lead too. So, but yeah, we're going to approach it the same way, What we've done that's a little different because there's so many different styles we've faced. You guys would be a bad relay team on a track meet, I'll tell you that. Passing the baton, you suck at that, man. But I think what we're looking to do is, okay, does UConn or Oregon, do they press? Do they play more zone? Are they doubling the post? So concepts of things rather than NCAA tournament. I might actually look one day at the offense they run and things like that. We just don't feel that we can do that much with what we have and So we're looking at the concepts. So Doug's got the Alabama scout, Monty and TK got the others. They worked all Sunday. We put some of that together last night. We're going to introduce some of that today on the presses and that, because I think it's good prep if we get into the tournament that this team knows how to do that too. So, yeah, it's the thing that's a little more backwards than football, where you wouldn't even think of looking ahead to another game, and it's what we do here. So, ain't broke, why fix it? Think I need some water, Max, or what? He passed the water better than he passed the baton, I'll tell you that. Go ahead. Next.
If you think passing the baton's bad, wait till you see this group run.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I think you'd want to drop the baton.
You kind of mentioned football there. Kind of a question. You guys obviously had the double overtime game. You win. You have the game where you lose the big lead and push through it late. What is the difference in winning and losing in those kind of games?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's enormous. I mean, I was at the football game. It's. I think the Gonzaga game, we dominated a lot of them. Not dominated. We probably outplayed them a lot of the game and lost. In the football game, if you look at statistics, we dominated that game. Freak interception, special team, deal. I mean, it's sad when you dominate a game and you don't find a way to win it. And I'm sure that's what Mel was most upset about, because you did the things you had to do, and whether it's a snap or a kick or a kickoff, or it was kind of funny because I was down in the field early in the game, and Mel wasn't happy with the first kickoff thing, and he said something on his, as I was right by him, and so I think he was on top of it. Whether you can get that through to players all the time, but he was on top of it because we were going into score and he was already talking about the kickoff. I thought that was really cool and really good, and yet we, in basketball, we found a way to win a couple, and there's been other years we found a way to lose a couple, and it makes a huge difference. And I guess that's your biggest job, is can you get them back up? I thought, what we went through at Michigan and then getting them back up for Illinois, now you got to get them back up for Penn State. It's not easy, especially in a sport where you're outdoors and practice has got to be brutal right now, and who knows what the temperature will be or the snow will be up there. But as we say, it's we do know that we're going to be playing in 72 and no wind, and unfortunately they won't be. But I think whenever this is when you got to really rely on your leadership, your juniors and seniors and things like that. And but they've proven they can do that, and hopefully we're starting to get that feeling where we can do that, and that'll be critical, especially when you go into 3 games that, I mean, we went from one place, who knows what will be ranked today and that, but we could be 1-3. Like Herner, Dr. Negative in my office says, well, hey, we could be 1-3, because he wants to make sure we don't get cocky. I said, hey, my friend, I almost said the wrong thing here. We could be 4-0 too, and we really could be. I mean, we played well enough, probably in that Gonzaga game, to be 4-0. So, but I just watched those games yesterday, and I watched all those different teams and good teams, and somebody's got to lose, somebody's got to win, and sometimes it's the breaks, and sometimes 2 teams are very evenly matched. I mean, I don't know how to look at Alabama. It's such a different team than I've seen, or than we've seen in our league. It really is a completely different team. I mean, 46 threes, I mean, that's not what they're averaging. 20 offensive rebounds a game. That's scary numbers, and with length and skill and depth, they have depth too. And the Quinterly kid coming back, I mean, I didn't think he'd be back till the middle of December, and he's played in, I think, 2 games. he makes a difference. He's a point guard that kind of runs their team. He's a very good quarterback. So, yeah, we're going to have our hands full, and Mel's got his, and winning a game in overtime and losing a game in overtime. You really kind of learn about the character of your kids, and I think we've won a tight one, we've lost a tight one. They've got themselves off the field and won a road game at Illinois, and now they got to do it again to be there. So we have similar issues, similar problems, and we talk about it too. So it's good.
Tom, back to Jaden a little bit. Is this kind of the the reality of dealing with this injury with him? Obviously, it's not good timing when you have 3 games in 4 days. How much of that is a concern also that there's no real rest period in there for him? And I guess how do you approach it?
And what we're going to do is the same thing that we did early. If there's any question mark, we're not worried about the 3 games over the 24 that are left. But there was good news too in the X-rays and everything, and talking to the specialist and everything, that it's going to be on how Jaden feels. And so, is it a comfort? No, it's not comforting, but is it reality? Yeah, it's reality. It's like having Henderson out. I watch what he's done back, and yet he still isn't 100%, but he's a very important player. Jaden Akins was one of my best players this summer, no question about it. And he was starting, as you could see, to come back. And it's going to take time with 9 weeks off, and now you get another little setback. But of all the kids that I think could handle it, he's smart enough to handle it. He's tough enough to handle it. He's athletic enough to handle it. And the only problem I've had is I think he wants to get it all back in one game, And maybe he learned a little bit, because he was an important part of that game. And one of the reasons I think Villanova came back is Jaden was out of the game, and so was Malik. So, nobody has great depth anymore. Ours is maybe a little less, and yet Jaden Akins is he's a big key to this team. He would have been starting probably, could still be. We're just trying to bring him back, and we're not going to risk anything if there's any question marks. That's a guarantee.
Coach, you mentioned after the game that Madi really struggled against the physicality of Villanova. When it comes to going up against a team that's drastically different like Alabama, how do you see maybe ways that he can excel against them?
And if I said it that way, I didn't mean it that way. I don't think he struggled with the physicality. Madi can be physical even though he's 25 pounds less than a couple of those guys, 20 pounds less. He struggled. He just did. It didn't seem like Madi was Madi, and we kept saying on the bench, but he's had a little success. He's the most humble human being on the planet. So we know it's not that, but, I think everybody thinks when things go right, they're just going to continually go right. So it was an okay lesson for him. He handled it well. We looked at a lot of film with him. Doug looked at some film individually with him. He would just ought to sink a little bit, a step off on his ball step-ups, a step off on the cutouts. So it was nothing, we didn't go back and say, oh, Monty was loafing. We just said Monty was not Monty. And the advantage of being a kid like Monty is you have to be at peak level all the time. You're not, God gave you some things, but he didn't give you the gift of fluidity, if that's a word. And if it's not, then it's a UP word, and so go run with it. But he just did some things that were uncharacteristic of him for how he's been playing, and I think he'll get back to the basics, and it'll be interesting to see how he handles this length. And he's played against length before and played pretty well. And we got to do some different things too, so it doesn't all fall on Madi. Like against Kentucky, we're not real comfortable double teaming yet and things like that. We were digging in there. We're going to put in a couple different packages for this in case we face, like Oregon's got 7'1", 7 foot inside, you know, and so we'll come with a few different things to give him a fair chance. So some of it falls on me too.
Tom, you've talked a lot about, you've mentioned your coaches a lot, and how happy you've been with this staff. It's a new mix, and I'm curious what you've enjoyed. It seems like you're enjoying this team and your staff quite a bit early this much. What you've liked about them and what you've enjoyed about this team?
Well, they've kind of fit in well together. We've got a little bit of a, everybody understands everybody's role a little bit better, but I also think the team maturing a little bit. You know, we had a couple immature guys, team maturing a little bit. Having Joey back, that I think the guy who recruited Malik has really helped out with things like that. And Marty's a sponge, you know. If you told Marty to do something, it's a little different than telling somebody else to do something. So I think it's a combination of things, but I told you early in the summer, before my staff even got together, I like the team. I'm still not in love with them. I mean, they still do enough things wrong, but I do like them, and I think they want to get better. I think they made the defense a priority again, and I think we still got to get to our defense, rebound and run. We're defending really well. We're rebounding decent. We're running average. And so we got some work to do there. I still think we're a very good shooting team, and I think Thomas Kelly has helped with that. That's, you know, what he wanted to be, and when he went to Europe and he played over there all that time, he spent a lot of time with our guys in that respect. And I think, you know, for Doug and Monty, you know, they got a year under their belt together too. Last year, Monty had just come back, you know, and so that helps. And, you know, it's not anything that much different, but I think it's together they've all kind of realized they need each other a little bit more. You know, when you're in a program for a long time, and including the coach, you know, you start figuring things are just going to happen because of what you do. And I think there's a lot more interaction, which I think is important. And I think they feel they need to because they don't know each other as well. So the negative becomes a positive. And the players have been, you know, we've done things like having breakfast every day, and we have a little film session for it. And just some things we just did a little bit better, that we're doing a better job of. I say that. And, you know, we could play good and go 0-3, guys. I mean, this is a very, 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 very good tournament. And so we'll see. You know, next week I could come back here Monday looking like death warmed over because we got in at 6 in the morning and have a press conference and go to Notre Dame a day later, and everything changes. But right now what's not going to change is they're working hard. They understand that their defense is their staple, which usually travels. Negatives, still turnovers. You know, like we did a pretty good job. I think we had 8 until the last 4 minutes of that game. And then we had 3 of them almost in a row that almost cost us the game, you know. And AJ has been playing better, but he's still, those things create problems. And spent a lot of time with him Sunday morning, a little church service. And so him and I borrowed one of Jake's old deals, and we just sat there and had a little service, and it was good. And I think he too is better. He's more receptive to things, which makes it easier to coach, to be honest with you.
2 things. What do you know about your team, if anything, that you didn't know 3 games ago?
You know, I think we don't get down on ourselves. I think we battle through some things, you know, whether it be the Gonzaga game or the Kentucky game. We're down 5 and it didn't look good, and we bounced back. And, you know, this last game, Villanova, you know, we blew a big lead and we could have hung our heads, and we didn't do that. We made plays. Tyson made some big-time plays down the stretch. And we still know, which I did know, that turnovers can be absolutely brutal. So 3 of the things were good and 1 of them was still bad.
I guess I couldn't be a basketball coach or a writer, but Because Thanksgiving, I wouldn't give up Thanksgiving. You just skip Thanksgiving, huh?
Yeah, I'll tell you something I did realize there is we have those new seats down on the floor now, like the NBA teams, and Matt Ishbia, of course, him and his brother had those 4 seats. And when they cut the lead to 4 on those 2 turnovers in a row, I just walked by him, I said, boy, you're a lot smarter than me 20 years ago. You made the right decision. And we all laughed. There was a moment of breaking the ice a little bit. But, you don't get Thanksgiving. Yeah, those guys do. It's going to be a little different out in Portland. I heard the weather's going to be a little rainy and not good. But as I said, thank God we're in indoor sports. So you miss Thanksgiving. I would like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, but not many people get to, in sports, you don't enjoy it the same way, like the Lions are always playing, and the Cowboys are always playing on Thanksgiving Day, but it's a privilege, too, to play when everybody in the country's off and is watching you. So there's a plus to it. At 10:30 at night, you're going to have a hell of a nap during the day, Fred, to get to that 10:30 at night game, but no chance. Is that what you're saying, Jack? Well, a little turkey and 10:30 at night isn't a good combination, huh, Fred? Yeah, I agree.
Anything else?
One more.
Tom, Gonzaga had led the nation in scoring, I think, 4 straight years. They got 64. Nobody holds Kentucky to 62 in regulation, and you could have been right around that with Villanova. Are you surprised that your defense has played this well this early, or did you expect that?
Well, like Fred said, I am a little surprised. I didn't expect it, but I thought with Tyson, AJ, Jaden, and Malik, I thought we could be really good perimeter defense. We haven't been quite as good inside, but Marty's been more than respectable, and Joey has helped in things. And but yet we have certain lineups in there where we're still a little sketchy. But I did feel this summer we'd be a better defensive team, and we have been a better defensive team. We've been more dialed in, and I think we as coaches have done a decent job of. You get people's attention when you're playing the big games. I mean, let's take that too into account. That we didn't play so well against Grand Valley. We're still human. So I guess we might as well keep playing good games because I think that has helped us. It's made our focus early in the season even more. Where the negative is we don't get a chance to get Jackson Kohler a little more time and touches, or Pierre a little bit more, because every game is, so nut cutting as far as everything's got to be right there. But at the same time, I think our focus coming into practice, I think they know if we don't do our job, we're going to get blown out, and you watched that game last night. And if Kentucky maybe wasn't playing at the same level that we've seen them play at the beginning of that game and went down, just think us. And so we have to play at a very high level every minute. And we said it this summer, we're not going to have a bad day coming in, because we're not going to be able to have a bad day. And we've kind of stuck with that, and I think it's helped us. But the challenge now, if there's ever a time when the lack of depth or an injury gets you, it's when you play 3 games in 4 days against all really good talent. So we're going to learn something else about our team and our program and where we are in the next 4 or 5 days. So while you guys are eating turkey, hopefully some of you are up at our Penn State game. We'll be working. And but what a good opportunity is to work, I mean, you play in Phil Knight's tournament. I mean, like it or not, I think, Phil's an incredible guy and has done so much for college basketball, and we get to play in his tournament, celebrate his birthday. That's pretty cool. and then you add the teams in that are going to be there. And this year our women's team is going out there, so we'll be flying out with them, and hopefully it'll be a good weekend for football and both basketball teams, and the doggone hockey team continues to keep winning here, it seems like. So, we became a soccer school, then we became a cross-country school, and now we're becoming a hockey school. Football and basketball got to carry their weight. There's pressure on us, so we'll try to do that. But I'm really proud of those other programs and what they've done, too. Thanks a lot, guys.